Hi friends, my name is Jocelyn Levin. I am the Children's and Teen Librarian here at the Lyon Township Public Library. We are so excited to have lots of friends with us today. I see lots of friendly faces there. Thanks so much for having your videos on and saying hello. We are very excited to have Carol with us today. She is an author, teacher, photographer, and sought-after speaker who's been raising monarch butterflies with her family for 40 years. In her free time, she can be found in ditches, meadows, and forests, scouring every crevice for signs of wildlife. She encourages others to become conservation activists through her Facebook page, the Monarch Butterfly Crusader. And in a minute, I will find a link and put that in the chat. Her book, How to Raise Monarch Butterflies, which is available here at the library, a step-by-step guide for kids, has sold 50,000 copies and received international acclaim. She's currently launching her new book, which we also have here at the library, 5 Butterflies. And this book excites young people to set down their devices in favor of exploring our natural world. So we would love for you guys to check out either of those books here at the library. And we're very excited to have Carol here with us today. Thank you so much.
Well, hello. I'm so happy to have some people I know and some other people from Michigan and especially the kids. I'm so excited to see you. 40 years ago, I was in law school and I went out with a guy whose idea of a fun time was to ride for 2 hours in the heat to a conservation area and have a picnic and look for caterpillars. I married him. 40 years later, I can't wait for this time of year because you see that stuff behind me? That's milkweed, and that's where I'm going to look for monarch caterpillars. And I'm so excited that you invited me today because it's been a long time since I've been able to talk about caterpillars. Who's going to talk with me? And in Toronto, it's been pretty cool, probably like in Michigan. But in some places, the milkweed is just about to emerge. And we know that the monarchs are on their way. This is my favorite hobby. I've been doing it for 40 years and I'm not bored with it. And today I want to teach it to you. Everything that you need to know, I'm going to teach you in half an hour. It's the best summer hobby ever and you're going to be able to do it. It's your lucky day. It's going to change your life just from a simple caterpillar. And it's my lucky day because I get to share it with you. Remember I told you that I've been doing it for 40 years? Well, the little girl in the front, she's all grown up now. That's my daughter. And my son is in the background, and they still love monarch butterflies. And yeah, that's the guy I married. And he's checking out the monarchs that have emerged. We used to take these to the cottage and we'd put them out on the picnic table and all the kids would come around and we'd be the teachers, even though we didn't know as much about monarchs as you're going to know in the next half hour. Before you start this hobby, you need a little bit of equipment, and none of it is equipment that you don't already have, and it's really inexpensive. You need a few containers, which I'll be showing you, scissors, a wet cloth, a camera, maybe a field guide would be good, magnifying glass would be fun, and to go on this hunt, before you go on a trail, make sure you have your water and something to eat. We're going to look for monarch caterpillars in only one plant. It's called milkweed. That's what's in the background. Milkweed is the only place a monarch butterfly will lay her eggs. Milkweed is the only thing a monarch caterpillar will eat. So milkweed is the only place that you'll ever need to look for monarch caterpillars. Look at that egg. It's so tiny. You may have to turn over hundreds of leaves to find it. It's the size of a sesame seed. Lucky for you, you can bend the milkweed gently and it won't break, so you won't have to, like crawl around on your belly to look on the underside of the leaf. But you can see this milkweed, it's growing in stones. Milkweed grows everywhere. And I know there's a lot of it in Michigan. And look at the size of this milkweed. It's just this big. The mother monarchs like to lay their eggs on the tiniest milkweed. So don't forget about those. And why do they do it there? Because the leaves are really soft. And the little baby caterpillars, they're pretty fussy. They don't want to chew too much. Do you like chewing? Do you like chewing on a steak? Or is a hot dog nice and soft and it's a little better? Well, the baby caterpillars, they like a nice tender leaf that they don't have to chew on too much. And the mother monarch does her best to lay her eggs on a leaf that's very soft and tender. Sometimes you'll find the egg on top of the leaf, even though it's usually under the leaf. You may even find it on the buds. This is a secret that even experienced monarch hunters don't know. You find eggs. Can you see that? Look really carefully. There's an egg on the bud. And I know you're all taking notes here, but let's say you don't want to take notes today. This library of yours that you're lucky to attend, it has a copy of this book and, whoops, it has a copy of my book, and just about everything I'm going to tell you is in that book. So you can relax. You don't need to take notes. Go to the library and get the book. One of my favorite ways to find eggs is to see a monarch butterfly laying them. So there's a butterfly in the middle of this picture. You can see the little orange thing at a distance. That's a monarch butterfly. And she goes from plant, lay the egg, 1, 2. That's as long as it takes. She goes to the next plant, 1, 2. Goes to the next plant, 1, 2. Keep your eyes peeled, and as soon as she's finished, go in there and look for the eggs that she's just laid. She only wants to lay 1 per plant because when that caterpillar gets big, boy, is it gonna eat. You see the egg here? So there's a flower, and to the right of it and down, you see something that looks like an egg. Well, it's not an egg. An insect has chewed on that leaf, and the sap is coming out. The sap dried out and looks just like an egg. If you don't have a magnifying glass with you, you're going to think it's an egg. What do you do? What do you do? Clip off the leaf, pretend it's an egg, put it in the container that you brought, and when you get home, check it out with your magnifying glass, or just put it in your nursery, which is a container. I'll show you more about that later. And if it hatches, it's an egg. If it doesn't hatch, it may not have been an egg. It may be just sap. You can look for these little circles. When the baby caterpillar is born, it chews little circles in the leaf. And that way the sap from the milkweed doesn't gush into its throat. I learned only 2 years ago that 1/3 of newly emerged caterpillars choke when having their first bites because of the sap. Now here's a milkweed bud. It's got a big chew out of it. I saw it before I saw that caterpillar on top. So when I see a chewed bud, I know there's a caterpillar around, and it's the hunt that's so exciting. Why, Sarah and Felix, is a hunt Is a hunt so much fun? Is a what do you call, is a treasure hunt fun? How about fishing? Is that fun? When you're
Yes, very much
hoping,
so.
yeah, when you're hoping that you might catch a fish. Some of you may go hunting. Are you hoping that you might see an animal? What about bird watching? Are you hoping that you're going to see that special bird? We're designed to hunt for things, and the hunt for caterpillars, for those little things, is just going to be awesome. Now, if you look at the head of this teensy weensy caterpillar, you're going to see its face is falling off. Caterpillars molt. They shed their skin, their faces fall off, and look, the new face is growing underneath. In 20 minutes, it's going to look just like the old face, but it's going to be bigger. Sometimes I fantasize this. Oh my God, I need a new face. Let's just take off the old one and put on a new one. And there is our itsy bitsy caterpillar. Felix, wouldn't it be fun to find that? Okay, so imagine you're in the woods with your mother and you find the first caterpillar and say, Mom, I found a caterpillar. It's this big, okay? And 2 minutes later she says, I found a caterpillar. And it's this big. And you go with the whole gang, you count how many caterpillars you found, and this is the secret spot right on top of the plant where she also likes to lay her eggs because they're so tender. Now, here's the most important part of the presentation, and I didn't know this for the first 30 years, and nothing bad happened. This is the milkweed sap. You don't want this in your eyes. Now, it does not splurch out. Don't worry about it. This is not a dangerous habit. But if you get it on your hands and then you scratch your eye, well, now you've shoved it into your eye. And this is going to hurt. It's going to really hurt. Really hurt. So you don't want any plant juices to get in your eye by wiping your brow and then sweating it into your eyes. So take a cloth with you, wash your hands in the river, don't get sap on your hands in the first place, but if all those things don't happen, you got sap on your hands, just don't touch your face until you get home. So here's the nursery. It's a plain takeout salad container. I've clipped off the leaves, put them egg side up in the container. Sometimes I put a paper towel to line the container. I don't really like to waste the paper towel. But I need a few drops of water at the bottom of the container to keep everything moist. Now sometimes the leaf starts to dry up before the caterpillar hatches. So what you want to do is just clip around the newly emerged caterpillar or the egg and put it on a fresh leaf, and that way you know that your new caterpillars have a fresh leaf and they will crawl onto it. They're smart. You don't need to move them. In fact, you never want to move a caterpillar off its leaf. If it sits there for 2 days, for a day, looking dead, it's probably just molting. It takes a lot of energy to lose its skin and grow a new one. So it sits there quietly like a whole day and doesn't eat. Do not panic. When they get bigger, you put them in bigger containers. So here are my caterpillars in a bigger container, and look at that stuff at the bottom. It's caterpillar poo, and it doesn't smell, and it's not wet. It doesn't stick. You don't need to worry about it. It's called frass, but what you want to do is clean the cage every day, just like any other pet. You want to have a nice clean cage. So you take the caterpillars on their leaf out and you put it in a box or a container over there. And then you dump out the frass, and then you put in some fresh leaves, and you put the caterpillars back in. Now, these leaves tend to curl up. Why is this important? It's important, Chris, because the caterpillars hide in there. Now you've thrown out the old leaves, and you've thrown out your caterpillars. Don't throw out your caterpillars. Every season, I throw out my caterpillars. I put the leaves in the recycling, in the compost, And sure, and the next morning there's a caterpillar on the top of the container because I accidentally threw it away. So you have to really examine those leaves before you throw them out. And even then, you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes I do this. Some of my friends often do it. The old leaves, we have an intermediate container where we put them before we put them in recycling. We open it up the next day. That's how we double check. So now I want to tell you what you can expect while you're raising these. First of all, some background. The female monarch lays about 400 eggs. It's shaped like this little football with ridges. And only 1 in 100 will make it to be an adult. Except if we raise them. Then 90 out of 100 may live to be an adult. And why is that? We're going to get to that. Right now, the important thing is the top of this egg is black. That's the baby caterpillar's head. It's ready to chew itself out of this leaf. And there it is. It's eating its eggshell right after it emerges.
Hi from the Monarch Crusader. How about this newly emerged monarch chowing down on its eggshell? Protein.
How cute is that? Now I took this with a point and shoot camera. They have these macro things on them now. You don't need an expensive camera. You can still hear me, right? If you couldn't hear me, you would tell me.
We're good. All good.
Volume low. So here we have a molting caterpillar. And it's crawled out of its old skin. You rarely see that because after it crawls out of its skin, it turns around and eats it. So you got to be looking at the rearing container 3 times a day. Last thing before you go to school, if you come home at lunch, after school, you might even have to take it to school or you're going to miss something. Take it to the office. This thing is going to grow 2,000 times its birth weight in less than 2 weeks. If you look at the center vein, you're going to see this tiny, newly emerged caterpillar. And on the right-hand side, less than 2 weeks. That is a lot of growing and a lot of eating. And before you go to bed, you better put some extra leaves in because while you're sleeping, they're eating all night. This is real time, folks. I didn't speed this up. Now, couldn't you just sit a whole day and watch your caterpillar chowing down? I actually keep my rearing containers right on the kitchen table so I don't miss a thing. And this is 40 years later. It's going to crawl up to the top of your container, or if you put a few sticks in, you may be lucky enough to have it hang in its J shape from a stick. That's what I did. And if you look at the skin, you'll see that it's green. Well, that's partially because it's been eating green leaves, but it's hanging there for about 16 hours. What's going to be next? Is it going to spin a cocoon? What do you think, Felix? Is it going to spin a cocoon?
Very much so.
Well, you're close. I'll show you one later. But butterflies form a chrysalis, and we're not going to see anything on the outside. Its chrysalis is on the inside. It doesn't make any sense, but right now, while it's there, it's making a chrysalis on the inside. Then it's going to split its head open, and the chrysalis that it's been making on the inside is going to pop out. And there it is. You see how its skin is peeling up? And the chrysalis that it's been making is on the inside. Then it throws off its skin, there's the chrysalis, and it whirls around like crazy, and it has a pupa dance. And the first time you see it, if you don't already believe in God, you might start believing. That's how weird it is when this starts twirling around. And now it's made its perfect chrysalis, and at the top is the dead skin. Normally it throws off the dead skin, but that's the whole skin at the top. You can even see the eyes sitting at the top. It might fall off later. And you can see the wings on the inside, because even when it was a caterpillar, it was already forming its wings on the inside. Now, this is what it looks like the night before the butterfly emerges. So when you see that at night, you know the butterfly is going to emerge in the morning. You better get up early or you're going to miss it. And there it is, popping out really quickly. If you go to the bathroom, you're going to miss it. It pops out upside down, and it's a boy. We have a boy. How do we know it's a boy? Put your hand up if you know how to tell if it's a boy. Unmute yourself if you know how this is a boy. Okay, then, I'm going to tell you. On the, if we look at the whole body, and we go to the bottom, where the white stuff is, of the body in the center, on each side, there's a dot. And those two dots mean it's a boy. So if we look at this one, we look at the body near the bottom where those white stripes are. We look to the right and left, there's no dots. But there's dots. That means it's a boy. Now, I hope you're paying attention, because we are going to have a test at the end of this. Now, here's a little miracle. Here's a little miracle. This thing just popped out. Look at its abdomen, the belly. Look how fat it is. It's full of fluid. All that fluid needs to get pumped into the wings to pump up the wings, which is going to take less than half an hour. So you can actually hold that. You put your finger out and look at those feet. Those little sharp things, they're called tarses. And they can grab onto your finger, and you've got a little life with a beating heart in your hand, growing before your eyes. Here's my kitchen table where I keep them. And I'm feeding this one. You don't have to feed it. But if it's raining for a couple of days, you can't really release it, and you might want to feed it. I'm feeding it honey water, and we're going to talk about that tag later. But you can see its proboscis. Coming out of its head, there's a couple of antennae, and below that, where its mouth is, there's this long tube-like thing called a proboscis, and it's got it sitting in that honey water and kind of sucking it up. Now, what if we didn't bring it inside? Why does only 1 in 100 survive? It's because all the other insects in the milkweed patch, and there's dozens, probably over 100 of them, like eggs. Earwigs like them, stink bugs, ladybugs, ants. Everybody's prowling around eating your monarch eggs that you watched the monarch lay eggs on that milkweed, because you're going to plant milkweed. Now, what if it makes it to be a caterpillar? Well, then the wasps are going to eat it. The spiders, again, ladybugs, milkweed bugs, assassin bugs. It could get disease or parasites. Ooh, let's talk about parasites. Here's a parasite. Once upon a time, there was a caterpillar on a milkweed leaf. A fly came along and laid an egg on that caterpillar. The egg hatched. It dug its way into the caterpillar and started eating its guts out. But it didn't want to kill it. It wanted the caterpillar to leave so it could eat more of the guts and eventually make a little worm-like thing like we see coming out of the chrysalis. Chrysalis has died. It's now killed the butterfly, and it's this wormy thing that we call a maggot. And What are we going to do? We're going to be horrified, throw it in the toilet as fast as we can? Or, Felix, do you want to dissect it and see what else is in it? No, ew, that would be gross. We got to get somebody else to dissect it. Oh, how about me? I'm going to take my fancy dissecting kit, and it's composed of 2 toothpicks, and I'm going to open it up. There could be something else inside. Ugh, look at this yuck. Anyway, there were, and if you look to the right of the white thing, the larva, underneath you're going to see another one, covered in yuck. There were 10 larvae in this one chrysalis. It was impossible. They started running around, leaving the most disgusting slime trails. And if this is the kind of thing you want to do, hey, you could be a scientist. And if it's the thing that you want to, social worker. Now, if we're lucky enough, we've got the caterpillar has made it and become a butterfly. And now who's going to eat it? Dragonflies, praying mantis. It could get hit by a car on the way to Mexico. It could starve to death, get sprayed by crop dusters, run into a tornado. And if it's lucky enough to get to Mexico, there are actually a couple of specialist birds that feed on them, 30 or 40 at a time, and mice. It's not easy being orange. How long will a butterfly live? Who knows how long a monarch butterfly lives? Unmute.
Eli, do you have a guess?
Who wants to guess?
Not me. I think
Okay. I'm sorry I'm picking on you, Felix. It's just I can only see 4 people, and you're one of them.
Eli, what do you think?
2.5 years.
You think 2.5 years?
Okay.
That's
Anybody
Eli's
else want to guess? Butterflies, most of them only live like 3 weeks. And this monarch, if it's born in May, if it's born in June, July, or the first half of August, it may only live a month. But if it's born in the second half of August or September, it'll live 9 months. Now, have you
a big difference based on when your birthday is, isn't it?
Have you ever heard of something that lives 1 month or 9 months, depending on what month it's born in? Every aspect of the monarch's life is a miracle. Because if it's born at the end of August or September, it's got to migrate. It's got to go to Mexico because Canada and the States, it's just too cold. So from Canada, which is not shown as part of the migration part on this map, but we have a lot of monarchs in Canada, and they have to cross Lake Erie or Lake Ontario, go through the States, particularly the Corn Belt, all the way into Mexico, and they wind up in a very small area of Mexico, 10,000 feet up in the mountains. That's about 4,000 kilometers, about 3,000 miles. It's this big. It's going to fly 3,000 miles. It's going to take 2 months for that to happen. And then it's going to hibernate for about 5 months, and then it's got to fly back to the States. That's why it has to live 9 months, that generation. My heart just about sunk when I saw these 3 monarchs flying into a heavy wind, struggling to get another few feet and another few feet, and they have to do this for 2 months, not always into a heavy wind like that, but they weigh less than a paperclip, and they're going to Mexico. And not this one, it got eaten by a spider. They need food on the way. They need native plants on the way, like this New England aster, like this goldenrod, like this Pye Weed. But we've got to really, really be thinking about what we're planting in our gardens, because we want to feed all the butterflies. And these plants that I'm showing you, they feed all the butterflies, not just the monarchs. So here they are in Mexico. There's two populations of monarchs. The ones in Michigan go to Mexico, but the ones that are west of the Rocky Mountains, they go to California. So here I am in Mexico. I've ridden a horse. I've walked up to 10,000 feet. I'm with a small group of people, and now we're looking at the monarchs. You see the monarchs? Where are the monarchs? I see a few bees' nests and some squirrel nests, but I'm not seeing a lot of monarchs. So I take out my zoom lens and I zoom in. And there
Holy cow.
are the monarchs.
Sorry. The reason I unmuted myself was so that you could hear me laughing.
Well, Felix, I really like the holy cow. Maybe we should have a few more people unmute themselves and give some reactions. And because then I feel like there's people there.
Yeah, sorry.
So this is what I saw. And if you have a cat or a dog, even better. So here, the trunk of the tree is completely covered in monarchs. The clusters are so heavy that they're bending the branches of the oyamel tree. That's what it's called. They're in pine trees up there called oyamels. There could be up to 10,000 butterflies on a single tree. Can you believe that? Now, after 5 months, they got to make it to Mexico. They're getting old. They're 8 months old already. They've lost their scales. Their wings are tattered and thin. And now, it's never been to Mexico. How did it find its way? It's never been to Texas. How do it find its way? Well, it's going to Texas, and it's going to lay its eggs there, and then it's going to die. Those eggs are going to hatch, and then they might make it up to Michigan. Or they may not make it not quite to Michigan. Maybe they'll stop south of you and have eggs again and die, and then make it up to Michigan and have a few generations up in Michigan. How do we know all this? Because of a Canadian scientist named Dr. Fred Urquhart. Felix, he was your age when he used to go to the meadow. It was called Scarborough Bluffs in Toronto, and he looked up at his butterflies and he asked a question. He said, where do they go in the winter? And nobody knew. Nobody knew. He became a scientist. He spent 40 years of his life looking for where the monarchs went in the winter. It's a really good story. You must see a documentary, especially Flight of the Butterflies, to see how Fred Urquhart found these. And it was about these tags. So he got people to put little tags on the butterflies. And then when people found the butterfly with a tag on it, there was a little place that they could send the butterfly, and Fred Urquhart kept track of where did that start and where did it end off. And you can do that too. You can be a citizen scientist. You can put little tags on the monarchs too. So now what? Now you know how to raise them. What are you going to do? How are we going to help? The population of monarch butterflies is down 90% in the last 20 years. Everybody in my generation remembers growing up with thousands of butterflies around of all kinds. When we used to drive up north on a holiday, we had to clean our windshield wiper and the front of the car for all the bugs on it. There's no bugs anymore, and there's not enough butterflies. So we have to plant habitat. Habitat is where the insects and the butterflies live. It's plants. We need to plant the right plants that they like to eat. So the ones that monarchs like to eat is milkweed. Start a butterfly garden at home, at school, at the park, at the community, at the office. Don't use insecticides. because from now on, we like bugs. And when you're in your garden or anywhere and you see a chewed leaf, is this a problem? A chewed leaf that you got to get something and kill the bug that did it? No, that's exciting. What ate the leaf? Maybe I can raise it. And now we have a healthy yard with insects eating leaves. Spread your habits, your new hobby with everybody. Register your way station, report your sightings, and write to me at monarchcrusader.com. Because after you've raised a couple, the whole neighborhood is going to say, Chris, I want you to do a presentation. I want you to do a presentation at the library, at the Boy Scouts Club, at the retirement residence. I want you to tell everybody about butterflies. And when you write me, I'm going to send you this presentation. This presentation, I'm going to send it to you for free with a script. If you've raised 2 caterpillars, you can do this. You're going to be the expert. Oh, it would help if you read the book too, How to Raise Monarch Caterpillars, which you can get from the library. You're going to be such an expert. Everybody's going to come to you wanting to know about butterflies. So here's the milkweed. People are really worried about planting common milkweed because it's going to take over. Well, swamp milkweed doesn't take over. Gorgeous, fragrant. You're going to have caterpillars. Butterfly weed. Now, what if you don't get monarch caterpillars? How disappointed are you going to be? Well, maybe you should think about raising something else. Plant some pearly everlasting. There's a really good chance, I'd say 90%, of getting a painted lady to lay eggs on it. You plant milkweed? Maybe 50-50, maybe less, depending on where you are. So plant a few host plants. Remember, host plants are the plants that caterpillars eat. Nectar plants are the plants that butterflies eat. So let's plant some pearly everlasting. Now we can raise American ladies. Let's plant some dill. Hey, that's easy enough. Let's plant some dill and get swallowtails. Woo! You could have one of those on your finger. Let's plant some false nettles. And we could get red admirals and question marks and commas. And false nettles you have to find. They're hard to find. You've got to start from seeds. Where you find them in the wild is on stinging nettles. Stinging nettles sting. They hurt the rest of the day. So you got to know what they look like and not get brushed with them when you're out having a good time. But if you find the caterpillar, you could have a red admiral. Oh, look at that one. It's a boy. I've planted rudbeckia, which is also called, I'm getting it, black-eyed Susans. Now, I didn't have enough room because I had other things in the garden, so I got my kids to dig out the lawn, and that's what they did, and I knew nothing about gardening. Picked up a book at the library, figured it out, put in some plants, and now I got a butterfly garden in the back. But now I want to plant more plants. Well, let's get rid of the front lawn too. Who needs a lawn? What is a lawn good for? Okay, you have to throw a ball around, or you need a table, you're going to have a barbecue. You decide how much lawn do you really need. I didn't need any in the front. And what do? We put pesticides on them. We got to cut them all the time and water them all the time. Once this garden goes in, the whole neighborhood, I get to teach them about butterflies. I have butterflies and bugs. And if something grows, great. If it doesn't, I try something the next year. And in no time at all, I've got this magnificent butterfly garden right in my front yard. And the whole neighborhood is starting to get the word to shrink the lawn and restore our properties to the way it was before we built the house on it. And since I'm talking about restoring the land, I would like to acknowledge that the land I'm speaking to you from, and this land, is the traditional home of our indigenous people. They're the ones who cared for the land for thousands of years before we got here. If we are lucky enough to own property that we took from the indigenous people, and if we are lucky enough to have the privilege of taking care of it now, we have a responsibility to restore it to the way it was before, because there's very little wild area left, and we need these plants to make oxygen so that we can breathe.
This monarch is nectaring and laying eggs, nectaring and laying eggs right in front of my house. You can hear the noise. They're roofing across the street. It's a busy street in my tiny postage stamp front yard.
I don't know if you can hear what I was saying. This is my front garden. They're doing construction. I have the tiniest property, and yet I've got monarchs in front of my house laying eggs and nectaring. I've got my sign, and it's just every day is a whole new experience. I don't know what I'm going to find there. And you'll hear people say, don't touch. I say, touch. One finger, touch the caterpillar, know what it feels like. And when you touch it and feed it and clean its cage, you're not going to believe it. You're going to really care about it, the same as any other pet. You're going to worry when it gets sick, and when it emerges, you're going to feel like, oh my God, I was part of this. And when you release it, it's going to be a bittersweet experience. You almost want to keep it as a pet, but you can't. You have to let it go to complete its mission and watch it on its first flight, which is just phenomenal, off to its life of freedom, and you've helped. And then you're really going to want to plant, because that's the only way we can save them. There's a whole ecosystem in the milkweed patch. Take time to explore the meadows and the ravines. When we save the milkweed and the monarch, we preserve the entire food chain. Now, I've been talking a lot, so I'm just going to whip through a whole bunch of other things so that there's time for you to ask your questions, and we can always go back to something that you're interested in. So here are the other insects that you're going to find on your milkweed. Ladybugs, aphids. Now, I could talk a long time about aphids, but I'm not going to right now. Spiders catching flies. Weevils puncturing the milkweed with their rostrum. A praying mantis, milkweed pods, milkweed beetles, eating and making babies at the same time. Milkweed bugs, spiders carrying around their egg cases. Swamp milkweed beetles, tussock moths, aren't they gorgeous? And then you'll have the pods in the winter, which look fantastic.
Sorry.
That's about it. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to take questions. I'm going to stop sharing really soon as I can figure out how to get to my cursor to that button and stop sharing. Stop share. Oh, there we are. Okay, so the hosts, who wants to Ellie, have you got a question? You got your hand up.
Go.
Where do you find the tags for the butterflies?
Where do the tags come from?
Where do I get them? There's an organization called Monarch Watch, and I order them from Monarch Watch. I get 25 at a time, and they come on a sheet, and I can just take them off and stick them on, and I get a recording sheet. So when I tag that monarch, it's got a code on it like a license plate, and I write that down, and I say, what day did I release it? And where did I release it? And if somebody finds it, they can match that up. They can know I released it in Toronto and that it was a boy and that I reared it from an egg. Because some of them I catch with a net, and I tag those too, and I say that it's wild. And then if somebody finds it, we can see it flew from Toronto to Texas, and we can know how long it took, and that's how we know the path that it took.
Very cool. And those tags must be so thin and so light that they don't weigh down the butterfly wings, huh?
Yes, because about 500 of them are found every year there.
Wow. All right. Felix, I saw you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually going to tell you that we have a huge yard, so we're not really scared of using up most of it.
And we did have a question too earlier.
Oh, lucky you.
It's possible that it came up when we were having a dog calamity or something, but what do you think is what would be the best time of year or the best, setting for us to go looking around? We do have a little bit of milkweed in our yard.
When you start seeing monarchs, then you know they're there and they could be laying eggs.
Okay.
Now, what if you don't see a monarch? We've got a lot of people who say, I haven't seen a monarch. It's June, I haven't seen a monarch. It's July, I haven't seen a monarch. Well, they're pretty sneaky. They come and lay eggs when you're not looking. How do you know when the monarchs are in your area? You're going to go to journeynorth.org.
Oh, okay.
Journeynorth.org. You're going to click on monarchs. Then you're going to see a map that shows you exactly where the monarchs are. And where do they get the information? They get the information from people like you, Sarah, because when you see your first monarch of the season, you're going to go there and report it. And that's how people are going to know that they're in Michigan, because you reported it. So you look at this map and you're going to see. Now, another way you're going to know is you're going to join a Facebook group called SEMBA, Southeastern Monarch Butterfly Association, Southeast Michigan Butterfly Association. You're going to join SEMBA, and they're going to tell you when the monarchs are in your area. And you lucky people, you're 20 minutes away from Brenda's butterfly habitat, and you must go there. And you can go for free. It's in Westland, and you can spend an hour going on a real caterpillar hunt. And sometimes they have extra caterpillars that they'll even give you because they have native butterflies in there, all kinds. You can look for eggs, caterpillars, chrysalids, and then if you get really excited, it's attached to a nursery. You can buy all your host plants there. You can buy this book there. You can buy my new book there. And when you're not a beginner anymore, you're going to buy Brenda Dietzig's book there called Raising Butterflies in the Garden. And I wanted to show you some of my stuff. This is a takeout container that you can use to raise your eggs, the cheapest thing, and you close it completely up, doesn't need any air. This is my mid-size container that I love to use, and it's got a handle. This is great for taking to the office and school. The monarchs will crawl to the top. There's last year's empty cases. And for the advanced, you can put it on its side, and then the caterpillar make its chrysalis up here, and then you can actually watch it attach itself, which is very, very exciting. And here's the test. Remember I said there's going to be a test? Is it a boy or is it a girl?
Anybody want to guess?
I think it's a girl.
Yay!
Felix says a girl. Eli, what do you think?
Girl.
Girl.
It's a girl because
Because what? It has any dots on the top.
doesn't have the spot. So this is where the spot would be, right around here. Remember, I said it was near the, it would be right around here. The spots.
Did anyone notice Miss Carol's shirt today? What does it look like?
Oh, I have to talk to get myself on the screen. Okay, I'm talking.
Look at that.
It looks like a monarch.
It does.
A monarch.
Absolutely. And I see some pretty monarch sheets or blankets behind you too.
Yes, that's my monarch. That's one of my 3 monarch blankets. And in the background, that's my banner for when I speak. I've never used it yet. You're the first to see it. You are the first to see my banner that I'm going to be using at presentations. And I brought something else that's extremely special, especially for Felix. Felix, this is a cocoon. A moth makes it. This is a Cecropia cocoon, and it spent the whole winter in my garage, and I got to watch it make its cocoon. And the cocoon is so strong that you need a scissors to open it. And if anybody wants to see me open it, they just can look for Carol Pasternak on YouTube, and you can see how much fun it is to open one of these when the caterpillar. Oh, actually, I opened it when the pupa was still in it, so it was still alive. But I was very careful. Don't try this at home. Anyway, these guys are alive. I don't know if you can hear, but it's in here, and it's going to emerge in about a month. And the moth in here is going to be huge and gorgeous. It's only going to live 1 week. But after you've raised a lot of caterpillars, you're really, really going to want to get into moths, because that's a whole new world again. If you get interested in the meadow, you're never going to be bored. You can actually get off your computer and have a fantastic time in the meadow.
Absolutely. So I put the Monarch Crusader Facebook page link in the chat there. I'll put it in there again. You can also go to the Monarch Crusader website. And I mentioned, we talked about how much fun it is to hunt for things. You can also come up to the library and do our little scavenger hunt. We have some flowers hidden around the library. I don't think we have any milkweed flowers hidden, but we'll have to add that one in for next year. Also, if you'd like to put a hold on Carol's book, How to Raise Monarch Butterflies, we've got, of course, our copy here, but there's also, I think, 14 more copies across the library network. So everybody, all of you could check out a copy at the same time if you wanted. We can get them sent over from all the different libraries. And all of you who registered will get an email in the next day or two with information about how to get free seeds for annual flowers and dill from the LTPL seed library. We have lots of seeds for Michigan native perennials that you can plant. And I also put a link in for the journeynorth.org website and for the sembabutterfly.org website, so you can check those out as well.
I want everybody to unmute and tell me whether you know where to find some milkweed.
Our yard.
My backyard.
All
I have
right,
a
so
patch
Felix
in my
does.
backyard.
There's
And my
milkweed.
backyard.
There's milkweed growing in the Lyon Township Public Library, the wild area just to the north of the library.
There's milkweed growing in my backyard.
So that's very cool. So have you, Ellie, have you seen Eli, have you seen the bugs on the milkweed before?
He's got a picture of a wig.
Well, what did we do last year?
Okay, so
We
this,
found a butterfly on the milkweed, and we raised it.
okay now, so you're the next expert. Okay, now Next year, the library is not going to want to have me back. So next year, you want to team up with somebody and get this presentation, and you be the presenter, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good, Eli. Eli and Felix can come and do the presentation, right? You can teach us all about milkweed.
You have a team thing, and like next year, next summer, we're going to be doing this stuff like in person, all right? There's going to be people there, and you're going to bring your caterpillars, and they're going to go, your audience is going to go crazy.
Does anyone else have any questions for our wonderful presenter?
I do.
Yes, Sharon.
I'm wondering with the tags, do you tag like at the beginning of summer? Those particular butterflies are not probably going to go south, right?
Right. They
Or
won't.
do
You cannot tag them at the beginning.
okay.
The reason is Monarch Watch won't send them to you.
Oh, okay.
They
I
only
figured
send them to you
figured
in
that out.
August.
Okay.
Then they tell you in your area when is it time to start tagging. And
Okay.
everybody gets really confused about it. This week, next week, that's why you've got to join on Facebook a butterfly group.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on that learning about butterflies with Brenda. I love it.
Okay, well then it's absolutely no problem at all. You say, Brenda, when should we start tagging?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No need to reinvent the wheel when you've got Brenda around.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I
Was
hope you will all head to our calendar page on our website where you signed up for this program. There is at the bottom a link to fill out a survey to tell us what you thought about the program and what kind of programs you guys might like in the future. And so we would love if you guys would do that. I'm going to really quick grab a link to it and stick that in the chat if you want to do it there. And we've got lots of fun stuff coming up. Let's see. We're going to be offering a fun take and make craft and science kit the end of this month, which is going to be a place where you can make some little sprouts and watch your little beans sprout and see how that works. And then we'll also give you some beans to plant outside if you want to grow some to actually grow outside in the garden. We've got, let's see, we have trivia. The end of this month is going to be about bugs and butterflies. So you guys will know all sorts of good answers for our family trivia. So be sure to sign up for that and join us then. And we would love to see you here at the library. We're open still 7 days a week, though we are closed this Sunday for Mother's Day. And then we'll be closed on Sundays starting after Memorial Day. But other than that, we're here every day and would love to have you come and visit.